So I want to talk about a secret, a big secret within the white community, and this is also in Louisiana and the New Orleans metro area. And no, I am not talking about the Catholic Church or those kind of people and their obsession with children, because that is often swept under the rug. Now, I had talked about this before, how they always want uh, the a boogeyman, to be either drug dealers, drug users, or maybe like a terrorist in the Middle East. But what they never want to do is they never want to neglect those and let up on the fear factor, because the next group that will be criticized or ridiculed or put under a microscope will be white people who play with children sexually. It's a big secret in the white community, and no, it's not the white trash doing it. It's like the working class white people who are into this, and they condone all this. But when it comes to one drug in particular, uh, they stay silent, and that is amphetamines. So, Louis, the United States, but in particular, Southeast Louisiana, has a huge prescription amphetamine epidemic. Okay, now in the New Orleans area, there's not much of the laboratory illegal crystal meth type amphetamines. It's mostly pharmaceutical, and there's physicians all over the New Orleans area. It reminds me of pain management. But the difference between pain management and these amphetamine clinics, either they're disguised as weight loss, or people are going to physicians and getting it prescribed to them. They're getting diagnosed with ADHD, which is really easy to do, okay? And the difference is the pain management clinics the government required a lot of paperwork, a lot of proof. You had to have an MRI. There was a long waiting time, so you can recognize a pain management clinic because there's generally a bunch of patients outside. They're pacing, they smoking, and they're loitering around because the pain management clinics have to take all of these steps and requirements that the state and federal government put for prescribing opiates. But when it comes to amphetamines, they can pretty much just write out the prescription and run it run the whole operation with like if they got a drive through. So you don't really notice these places. You'll see a weight loss sign or something, doctor weight loss appointments, and you'll just see cars coming and going all day, but nobody's really there too long. They're just walking right in, they're getting weighed, and they're getting their amphetamine prescription for the week or month or however they're prescribing it. And then it goes a lot deeper than that. And I know a guy who used to work for a refinery down here, and he got hooked on amphetamines because he went to the union that represents the, I guess, oil field workers or whatever, refinery workers. And they have the people who work at all refineries usually work 12-hour shifts, and they'll work like 3 night shifts, 2 days off, and then 3 day shifts, 2 days off, and it messes with their sleep cycle. And what happens is this guy went to his union rep and told him he was having problems staying awake, and they recommended him to the union doctor, and they just started prescribing him amphetamines. A lot of law enforcement officers are using amphetamines. A lot of working professionals within the white community or using and abusing amphetamines. And what's being created here is it's going to be a really bad epidemic soon, and when they get the rug pulled from under their feet, just like chronic pain sufferers did. And I'll explain to you how this happens. They are freely prescribing these Schedule II amphetamines to people for weight loss, ADHD, and God knows what else. It's allowed to be prescribed off label, I believe, even though it's a narcotic. Very, very loose. It's never spoken about. Nobody talks about all these weight loss doctors and ADHD prescriptions uh, being filled. And what's going to happen one day is they're going to crack down on it. And what happens to the brain when you use amphetamines for a long period of time is it stops working. Okay, so let me just go off subject one bit. Talk about the brain. People make a mistake. The drug community or whatever, drug rehabilitation community, they refer to an opiate, someone who's dependent on opiates as they are going through withdrawals or they detoxing. These are bad words. These are words that are more appropriate for alcohol abuse because alcohol is something that you detox from. What happens with opiates is your brain just stops working once you start taking opiates for an extended period of time. Your brain just stops working and it's not producing. It's like 8 different chemicals, for lack of better words. That your brain isn't like serotonin, dopamine, and all these chemicals. Your brain just isn't producing them anymore. So you're not detoxing from anything. You're not, dirty with a substance that's preventing your brain from doing anything. Your brain has shut down, and this is why you hear people complaining years and years after their last dose of opium or opiates that they're still having problems. They're still having, they call it PAWS, post-acute withdrawal syndrome, but there's nothing acute about it. It goes on forever, and sometimes the brain never fully comes back. Well, this is the same thing that happens with amphetamines. It pretty much does almost the same thing to the receptors. And again, it's not that they're toxic with some kind of substance and they need to detox from it. And it's, the reason why their brain's not working is because they're going through some type of withdrawal. It's not a withdrawal at all. Their brain just stopped working. So what's going to happen soon, and you can bet on this, they're going to start cracking down on prescription amphetamines. And what's going to happen to all these millions of Americans? And I had the actual number. It's unbelievable. It's something like 5 million Americans are being prescribed amphetamines right now. And it might even be higher than that. The 5 million might have been just one particular brand or prescribed for one particular reason, like for ADHD or whatnot. So what's going to happen is these people, their brains are not going to work properly anymore. And if you're a working professional, you're going to do whatever it takes to keep yourself working, especially if you're in a lot of debt. You have a mortgage, you have bills, you have kids. And you're going to see a rise in laboratory manufactured methamphetamine. You're going to hear a rise in use in this. People will start using small amounts, similar to the way they used heroin when they could not obtain milder prescription opiate pain relievers. So, big problem in the Deep South. When I walk around my town, I hear women all the time. It's just like white women in their 30s talking to one another about their Adderall prescription and how they're losing weight and whatnot. And you hear it's an epidemic. It's a lot of people. I'm actually going to pause this and get a number for you here. Way off. 16 million, not a couple of million, not 4 or 5 million, 16 million adults in the United States used prescription stimulants in the past year, okay? And they're estimating that 5 million of those people misused it. So that's where I got the number. So 16 million adults, not children, adults, are receiving prescription amphetamines. And I don't know how many children, because this is where it starts. They give children amphetamines to force them to go through public school, so they can be programmed subconsciously to obey. So I don't know how many children are being prescribed. They don't have these numbers here, but 16 million adults were prescribed amphetamines last year. This is a really, really big problem. You're talking about everyone in Los Angeles, everyone in New York City. So imagine all those people, everyone in Los Angeles, everyone in New York City, and let me give you a hint who's being prescribed prescription amphetamines. It's not Jose. It's not the Asian immigrants. It's not black folks. Black folks aren't into amphetamines. It's white people, and it's a lot of working class white people and conservative white people. And it's the elephant in the room, and when you speak about this down here, people squirming are very, very defensive about it. I mean, you can tell who takes a prescription amphetamine because as soon as you bring it up and you try to compare it to the opiate epidemic, they get really, really offended. And of course, people aren't dropping dead while they're using it. They're dying in other ways. A lot of people are dying from heart-related issues, strokes, things of that nature, and it's not being properly contributed to the actual abuse or use of amphetamines. So 16 million adults in the United States were prescribed amphetamines last year. And like I said, most of these are working class white people, and they're being set up. That's 16 million Americans whose brains are not properly working anymore. So imagine, and listen, I can guarantee you most of these people are working class Americans, because if you're on the street just buying them or smoking the illegal stuff, that's not counted in that 16 million number. The type of people who go get prescriptions from doctors are working class white people. You've seen it in the opiate pain management clinics, and you see them in the amphetamine clinics. And they got a couple of doctors right in this small parish I live in. They got one weight loss clinic for sure that I've seen that's been open for a while. So imagine that. Imagine 16 million Americans, white Americans, working class Americans, all of a sudden they're having problems getting their amphetamine prescriptions filled. Where do they go? What do they use? We'll take a guess. They'll be buying the crystal meth stuff off the street, and you will see a really big, sharp increase. And as you're already starting to see the fentanyl overdoses lapse, fewer and fewer people are using opiates. A lot of people are committing suicide. I don't know if you noticed the numbers had shot up with suicides to over something like 75,000. It went from 35,000 a year to 75,000 since COVID. And I guarantee a lot of this is contributed to untreated chronic pain. So the prescription amphetamine addiction, I don't want to go into an hour-long rant into it. I think you get the gist of it. I don't think people realize it. The reason why I see it is because it reminds me of the pain management clinics, and the way that it's almost like intentionally that the pharmaceutical industry is. Now, I got two arguments here. One is you should have a right to take amphetamines or pain medication if you like. That's just my philosophy. They should do away with the Scheduled Drug Act. They should take the Department of Justice out of medicine and allow the medical community to treat people with substance abuse disorders the same way they are with alcohol. Because you see, with alcohol, you don't see the problem. The people who are chronic drinkers blend into society because what they're doing is illegal, and they're not being ostracized and have this dry spotlight on them. And so the alcoholics are able to bleed into and camouflage themselves into society And the amphetamine users are too, because they go into physicians and getting this stuff. But I can see it. I see the the weight loss clinics, uh, doctors. Let me tell you, psychiatrists. Most psychiatrists were like Medicaid type doctors. Now, and they were in like cheap office buildings. Now you're seeing these, like they move and they got psychiatrists on St. Charles Avenue now, and because they're making all this money from these prescription amphetamine people who are paying them for prescriptions. 16 million adults, and let me tell you, pain medicine is a necessity, but amphetamines is not. You do not have to give a child amphetamines. They shouldn't be forced to sit in that classroom if they're unable to assimilate into that schoolhouse crowd. Maybe they should take kids out of the general school and put them in some type of trade or separate them and not medicate them with amphetamines. Same thing with weight loss. Exercise and good diet, not amphetamines. So amphetamines are really not needed at all in society. And like I said, it's a big secret next to the P word, playing with children sexually. And prescription amphetamines is probably the second biggest secret within the white conservative community. So